for today is now that 2 people have their license and 2 people will have their license very soon, is what does that mean? Like, what's changing for you? And so just a quick thought, John or Connor, any thoughts for what you think that means professionally?
Liability, more
Agree.
like responsibility, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Fully agree.
Yeah, along that same line.
Yeah, so the topic, and I talked with Jim about this, is there is a personal, corporate, and a public perception that now that you have those letters next to you, that there's a standard of care that goes up. That's just sort of the nature of the beast. And even if you're not sealing the plans, there's still the idea that you were a registered, licensed engineer, landscape architect, or whatever, and that you were part of that process of overseeing it. So it's an honor. Honestly, it was a big deal for me to get my license. It wasn't just, now I can sign plans and go to township meetings and get beat up. It was, it was an accomplishment. You've worked hard to get to that point, and until you'll get that the same way. So it's just sort of acknowledgement internally. I just wanted to kind of share with you there's an expectation with that. So that's the professional side. What I wanted to talk to you Dick, was how things change here at Nave Newell then. And it really would be anywhere. It happened to me wherever I was working at the time. Is you're starting to shift from, and we're going to work on it with you to help with this, is going from the doer to the doer and the distributor. And that means that because what's happening is you're going to take over more of the crap calls. You're on the calls, and Brian does that a lot. All of you do it some, and you're doing more of it. You're on the calls a lot on the Mapleview. It's hard to do those calls and get the work done because it's more time and it's significantly disruptive to your mindset as you're trying to design at the same time. And so the hope, expectation, whatever the case may be. I know this to a certain extent it's talked about at the ops meeting, so I'm kind of reiterating to a certain extent what you already know, is that you're looking to pass down stuff as much as you can. It allows you to continue on your career path, and that career path could be, I'm doing all presentations like Greg Newell, God forbid, or you're doing a lot of design, but you're also still doing a lot of project management and so forth. In either case, you need to be able to give work to people. And I, Brian, our situation is long term. We would like to now hire somebody to do that. So your situation is a little different, but that's the same idea. So for the 3 of you, and I think you're doing that now, it just becomes almost like you assume that responsibility. I'm constantly looking to give stuff to people. In doing that, that's a hassle. It isn't easy if the people don't know what to do or have the training to do it yet. So yes, part of this getting those 2 letters after your name, 3? Is it 3 or 4? 3, okay. Means being patient and coaching and teaching people. It's really helpful for your career. It's very helpful for the company in the end. The challenge, and Jim's got a lot of burden to try to make sure, Sherry's asking why didn't the department meet its billability goals, or Paul, or whatever the case, but Jim's got a lot of people working under him. He's really relying on the rest of the team to help make that work, because he just can't be meeting with all the people. We don't have specific teams, so that gets a little bit harder. In a way, if you had the teams, that would be a little easier to do. But we're trying to create flexibility. And it's not easy when you're rushing to get something done, and it's easier to do yourself. You've got to avoid that temptation as best you can. There are going to be times when it's much easier kind of for you to do it yourself. And I get if it's a rush, that's what you have to do. But over the long haul, you know, incorporating Joe or Laura Connor or whoever else might be, when we had the interns. It's really important to do that. Jim and I were talking, one of the things I understand is you wanna be comfortable, you know how to do it yourself, and some of the stuff you haven't done many times, and you may choose, hey, I need to do this myself 1 or more 2 times. I may bring somebody in to do a little bit of stuff, but I really wanna make sure I know how to do that. I get that and respect that. Over the long haul, though, you know, each day I'm thinking, is there something else that I can pass on that I did before? You professionally, the more you handle, the more you're valuable for the company, the more you would argue I deserve to be paid, being really honest with you. I just watched that path through the career, you know, my career path has shown, and I've seen that happen along the way, type of deal. And the only way to do that is, you know, we're not here to make you work 60 hours, we're here to just get as much work out. And that's utilizing the staff to do the work. So I encourage you to keep that in mind. Personally, I probably wouldn't have had the seating arrangement that's now there. I get that the 3 of you in being in similar career points, sharing ideas and comments. It does take you away from the people that I'm just telling you you need to connect with. So it requires a little extra effort to make sure to do that. Now, I don't think it's a big deal because we're up and moving around and we're in the office. But in a perfect world, you'll be a little more diverse of that. But the good news in hopefully a month, I don't have to worry about that. Part of my career path is on those related things. So just be cognizant. I kind of wind down by saying, you may not realize it, the staff looks up to you. They admire what you accomplish, they admire your skill sets, they respect your knowledge, and they're looking to get from you that sharing of that knowledge and expertise. And all of you are really good at explaining things. Just be cognizant, they're a sponge. They really want to hear and know different things. And taking the time to explain why you did what you did is important to them in their career path and where they're going on. And so if you can keep that in mind, it's easy to be busy all day and suddenly realize you really haven't talked, for the sake of argument, with Laura or Joe. But they're anxious to be part of it and know where they're going as well. So it's hard to believe it. When did you start as an intern?
Technically 2015.
Really?
Yep.
That's a long time to be putting up with Mr. Ekman. But yeah, you know, if you can think back to that, I mean, it was important then to feel part of it and get your knowledge. You know, getting your knowledge would be really helpful to them as they go along the way. I don't think I coughed much, so that's good. So any thoughts? You know, I kind of rambled there. I'm normally not kind of rambling that much, but I mean, I doubt that any of this is really a surprise to you, and Jim's been working on it, but I thought it was important to share.
No, I mean, John and I have had the conversation of, you know, how can we get stuff off our plate to, you know, keep the work flowing and not totally take it only on ourselves, because sometimes it is quicker. Sometimes I can just knock something out instead of handing it over. So I think we're trying to find that balance right now of things that are passable and not.
So what would you think is the big obstacle to that, and how can the bigger picture of the company help you guys and gals do that?
I'm not gonna cop out, but I do have a more unique situation.
You do.
than
Your
what-
situation is, yeah.
what they deal with. And it's probably just trying to set up things easier, as opposed to, like, we had all of these different standards and now they can be more streamlined in CAD. You know, if we can set them up from the beginning correctly, everyone should be able to take those things over. I'm just thinking of like zoning exhibits or small exhibits for presentations. Everyone should be able to tackle them to some degree. So I don't know, trying to start things off the right way is probably an easy way to keep things flowing.
Also, like projects that aren't such a small budget, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
cause like, I know on Mount St. Joseph's, like, we have a lot of space there, I mean, it'll get taken up, but like, it's not like a $2,000
Mm, right,
contract where you're
right.
like counting every hour, so you're like, I don't have time to
Yeah.
train someone on a project like this. So if there's like larger budget projects, it definitely helps.
And a great point, you're right. I sit there and in my utopian world, it's easy for me to say, I just incorporate them. I'm not the one that's doing billing sheet at the end of the month and trying to make that work. So
Yeah.
that's a fair concern, and I think you have to incorporate that into decision-making. The only area that I get concerned then would be, at the same time, if they're not billable, then it really hasn't worked either, type of deal. So it's kind of one of those trade-offs that we keep in mind in the process.
Yeah, that's something, going off of what Connor said, that especially with these pool projects where, the ones that are 3,700 with the survey, I mean,
Yeah.
those ones, it's really hard to kind of pass off work because, let alone me and someone else, 2 people, let alone
Yeah.
3 people, it just gets messy very quickly. So it's things like that where that's what makes it difficult. Same with the Turpin project, it's very easy to rack up the budget
Yeah.
for those very quickly, so it's finding the balance of being able to pass off work. Like Connor, Carrie, and I think have a pretty good system at this point, but towards the beginning, I mean, it was definitely getting into a rhythm of finding what works, and when to do the work, how long to hold off on it, that kind of stuff. But it's just, I think, finding the rhythm and finding like how you work with everyone too is a big thing, and how they learn best too is a thing that I've learned over the past year or so with doing the pool projects and everything.
And some of them, excuse me, some of them may be tied to skill sets of individuals and working with Jim or Paul to see who might be best suited to take it over or absorb it, who can handle. Some people work a little faster, some people are a little more knowledgeable in certain areas. So I agree with you. What always goes through my mind is the challenges. Now that you're connecting with clients and they're comfortable with you being available, as they get more sophisticated, that's where I need you available. I'm saying we, the company. And the pool project kind of takes you away from some of the more important things, and so that's the balance. The pool projects are important in their total dollar volume and doing them right and the type, but at the same time, you have the bigger projects where the clients really want to know you. So it's hard, but that's a great point.
Yeah, I want to say the only thing I have to probably add is more of anticipating setting time to the side to be able to help
Mm-hmm.
the others through things. Because I mean, there was times last week where, both Joe Turpin and Connor, I'm trying to train them on 2 different things at the same time. The next thing you know, 4 hours have went by and I haven't spent a minute of my own time working on what I was supposed to be getting done that day because I wasn't anticipating that amount of time spending with them.
Yeah, I noticed a different version of it, but I think the same story. I saw you over helping John today with some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't in your budgeted time for the day, and yet that's part of who we are as a team. We help each other. So, I do think it's hard. If we file made in a way, the biggest thing is keeping Jim in the loop and keeping Paul in the loop of the challenges you're running into. What I share with you today is not the burden now all on the 4 of you. You're now invited into that process, and it's more of, keeping up with Jim and what's going on. And some of it's real, honestly, how are the individuals improving as far as their skill sets go? And if somebody's lagging behind, rather than you take on that whole burden yourself, talk to Jim, and they collectively can decide, how do we help get that? Or if we just don't have somebody right now you can turn it over to, for example, that's a conversation you say with Jim, all right, what's our long-term strategy here to move me out of anything more than client contact and somebody else doing it? We've done that with the ADA projects. So we kind of have a model of how that goes along the way. That may mean you bite the bullet a little bit to designate some time, and there may be a strategic advantage of just saying, all right, this next project, we're gonna take the time to walk through it, it's gonna take a little while, but we'll make sure it's all squared away so the new person has it all done, rather than trying to do it over 5 projects, a little bit here and a little bit there, and before you know it, you spent more time than if you'd simply committed to it right from the beginning. So that's a thought. Okay. Other thoughts? Jim, did you have it? Okay.
No, I think you covered it all. I'm
Okay.
sure you've all heard me say, if you can pass it down, pass it down. Sometimes staffing or training might, inhibit that a little bit, but that's basically the goal. You guys shouldn't be sitting there doing red lines when there are clients to talk to or proposals to prepare, projects to run. So if you can get the little stuff off your desk, it just makes everything else a little bit easier.
Yeah, I mean, the proposals are a big change. You're collectively much more involved in proposals now. And as you know, Connor and John, just recently with stuff, like finding the time to fit that into the schedule is hard. And I'll say for the transition, I've had discussions with Denny. He has people over there who are senior, very senior people who just do everything themselves. He has other people who distribute a ton of work. So I don't know in the long term how Denny's vision of what was going on. And I don't think he wants to let that influence us. I think he wants us to continue with whatever methodology we do. The one area that I'm hopeful, they have much more standardized ways of doing proposals. So I look forward to that feedback, which I think, like the situation Connor that came up today, I think he has a fairly simple template and, boom. They bang it out and send it out right away. They may put less information. Whatever it is that they do, I know they turn it out faster. So we're looking forward to getting that feedback to help. But, in the end, I'll just finish by saying, it's really exciting the career advancement all of you made. It's a great thing for the company and a really great opportunity for you individually and then collectively for the people under you and for the excitement for us. I can turn this over and Connor, before you know, you'll be running and talking to Joe and Walter, and away we go, and that'd be really good. So that's a wonderful advancement for the company. So thank you. All righty. Thank you.
Thanks.